Couples will frequently come to therapy complaining of communication problems. Conflicts don't get resolved. Intimacy has left the relationship, and they find that they're leading parallel lives. The focus is on their kids or on their work or friends, but not on each other. During the first session of couples counseling, I'll take a history. I'll get an idea of what their goals are for counseling, how they want to change their relationship, and then I'll ask them to talk about a current situation that they're in, a problem that they're having, for about 10 minutes. Invariably, one partner will dominate the discussion. And then in subsequent sessions, I might see that same pattern. So here's an example. Jody and Tom came to couples therapy because Jody feels that Tom never listens to her. She's upset because he tunes her out and he doesn't open up about his thoughts and his feelings. He doesn't share his inner world with her. And as I observe them together for even those 10 minutes and then in additional interactions, it gives a really important clue to why they have come to this place in their relationship. Jody talks a lot. In fact, she speaks in paragraphs, even pages. She's animated. She's eager to express herself. And Tom sinks into the couch, shoulders hunched, in a kind of resignation. And Jody takes over the conversation. There's no doubt that she has important points to make, and she makes them well, but Tom doesn't get a chance to speak. When I prompt Jody gently to let Tom speak, he gets a couple of sentences in, and then Jody takes over. She interrupts and she finishes and answers the questions for him. Now, you can imagine what brought them to therapy in the first place. Jody complains that Tom never talks to her. He's closed, he's shut down from his feelings, and he doesn't express himself. But it's important to look at what that dynamic really is all about. So ask yourself this question: who talks more in your relationship? Now, there's some controversial research that says that the average man speaks about 7,000 words a day, while the average woman clocks in at 20,000 words a day. I don't think this is a genetic or a neurological issue so much as a relationship one, a dynamic that develops over time. And of course, temperament plays a huge role. We are all different in how we talk, whatever the gender. So it's important to think about this example of Jody and Tom. The very thing that Jody wants from Tom is closeness, but she doesn't give him a chance to speak. The pattern gets further entrenched as Tom's unexpressed resentment begins to grow, and he retreats more into his own thoughts, which often see Jody in a negative light. And then this perpetuates the cycle, with Jody seeing him as distant and aloof. Furthering the pattern is a subtle dynamic at play. As Jody sees Tom's discomfort and reluctance to speak, she begins to talk more for him, letting him off the hook, so to speak. They each have a role to play in this dynamic, but they're not aware of their roles. They're unconscious of it. Sometimes it takes someone from the outside to help them see that. So there's several things you can do to change this dynamic. I frequently invoked what I call the 3-sentence rule for communication, especially for the partner who dominates the conversation more. And when they come to see the pattern, this rule is actually met with chuckles and a kind of relief. Jody doesn't really want to do all the talking, and Tom wants a chance to express himself and to be listened to. So remember, reciprocity in relationship communication is essential. If you find yourself speaking in paragraphs, put a period in. Think of speaking as an editor might when they read your writing. Have you just used 10 sentences with no period and a bunch of tangents? No paragraph break? Do you go around in circles with your speech? With something that wasn't even your main point to make? Think about how Twitter changed the world, for good or not. We are forced to take key elements and put those thoughts into, at least at one point, 140 characters or less. Reciprocity is essential to good communication. Make your point, then pause, giving your partner a chance to respond. Remember, it's a dialogue, not a monologue. Now, that was just 3 sentences and 140 characters. In my family, one of my daughters relayed an anecdote about a friend whose father was always contemptuously admonishing his wife to land the plane, Wendy. And we all laughed when she told us this story because we are a family of talkers and we could all relate. So now in our family, when one of us goes on too long, perhaps giving unnecessary detail, going off on a tangent, someone in the family, it's usually at the dinner table, will say, "Land the plane, Wendy." Now, I can tell you that the only reason this works for us without feeling condemning or critical is we've talked about it before. It's become a family thing. And this is important that we use the name Wendy, not our actual name, Susan or Claire or David or Eileen. Because if you do that, if you use their name, then it's a kind of a snide remark. And now this is a story I've told to other people, couples that I work with. And when I describe this 3-sentence rule for the partner who tends to dominate the conversation, I do it in a way that they can hear without judgment. So when they come to see the pattern, this rule is met, as I said, with acceptance and a kind of relief. So if you find yourself doing more of the talking than you think is worthy of a Twitter post, or you're going on in paragraphs, try this. Obviously, it doesn't work robotically, but hopefully by becoming aware of the volume of your speech, you'll be able to catch yourself if you're speaking in too long with all those run-on sentences. And then you stop, pause, let your partner have a chance to speak. And you may be surprised by what you learn from each other when you do this. It's a wonderful thing to begin to shift the way the conversation goes. And you'll find that as you practice with it and you become more mindful and more attentive of how you are communicating this way, you'll actually deepen your intimacy and you'll be having much more fun in conversation. So try it and let me know how it goes for you. And I'll see you next time.